Thank you for taking the time for this quick training tutorial. Today we'll be focusing on the proper steps for scanning and storing all supplemental documents that accompany an invoice in our system. Storing this information is important because it not only keeps us organized, it also helps us to answer any questions a client may have about a particular job or invoice. This process will allow our accounting department or the project manager to quickly access any information surrounding this project. There's a list of documents that will be stored in our system to accompany the invoice, and we're going to discuss those documents now. The first one would be our signed agreements, and these are usually they can be for smaller projects, but generally are kept with our larger projects. And this is an agreement that outlines our pricing for that project, an estimated cost and page count for that project, as well as any specific instructions. And we have the client sign off on that document. That document will be named with our invoice number 32638, followed by a capital A for agreement. Next, we have our signed invoice. Once a project is completed and an invoice is generated, we deliver the project to our client and we have them sign off on the invoice, stating that they received the project and they have also received the invoice. This here will have the document named the invoice number, followed by capital I for invoice. Next, we have our job ticket, and once a project is completed, we take our job ticket and we're going to store it in the system because that has all our project parameters in it. The job ticket will be named with the invoice number, followed by a capital J. And lastly, any supplemental receipts or receipts for supplies or anything that's been generated for this invoice, such as flash drives, CDs, or tabs. If we have a receipt from Staples, we want to scan that in. We want to keep it with the invoice, and then we'll also send a copy of that to our administration department. And that will receive the invoice number followed by an R for receipt. Next, we want to go ahead and jump back into our QuickBooks, and we can see we're in invoice 32638. And if we scroll to the bottom of this invoice, we'll see there's an area here for attachments. And this is where we're going to drag all of our scanned information and store in the system. So if we scroll over here, you can see I've already created a folder that has our agreement with the invoice number, our invoice that's been signed with the invoice number, our job ticket with the invoice number, as well as a scanned receipt with the invoice number. And we simply just grab these documents, we go ahead and drag them over, and store them in our system, and it's just that quick. And you can see once they're done downloading, we'll have the option to click on them and open them to make sure they all were stored correctly. In this case, we can see that they all were stored correctly, and it's just that simple, and then the process is done. So what I would like for each of you to do is I'd like for you to create an invoice in the system under Fort Myers Walk-In. I'd like you to create that invoice for 1 cent, and then I would like you to print or save and print that invoice out and write the following on the project. This project was completed by your name along with the date, and then I want you to, once you've completed filling that information out on that printed invoice, go ahead and scan that back into the system using our naming protocol. You would give it the invoice number along with a capital I, and then I would like you to attach it to the invoice that you create in the system. Once you've completed this process, I would like for you to go ahead and email Melissa Sugars, Chris Davis, and myself, Mike Suley, and we'll go in and check the work to make sure it's done properly. Thank you for taking the time to watch this training tutorial.